Welcome back, everybody. Let's continue our conversation about a topic that for some is simply not possible or likely, namely the rape and sexual abuse of men and boys. With me in studio is the, not in studio, in our Durban studio, is the chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality, Fanozelwa Shozi. And here with me in studio is Martin Pelders. He's a rape survivor who's taken action and founded Matrix Men, which is an online support base for male survivors. Gentlemen, thank you so much for staying on and participating in this conversation. Martin, again, let me come to you because, you know, we've been talking about male abuse, but focusing on sexual abuse, which is a huge issue. But I mean, the abuse of men, it goes much further than just sexual abuse.
It goes a lot further. So we have a lot of physical abuse. That would be the next big problem. And from there it goes on to emotional, mental, those are the biggest ones.
Physical as
physical.
well.
Yeah, physical would be your biggest, after sexual abuse, would have the biggest impact on a young man's life. Then emotional, very difficult to gauge because emotional abuse, there are no scars, there's no physical happening, so it kind of degrades the man and gives him a very low self-esteem and that sort of thing. So he walks around very confused and very sort of introverted, and that would be the emotional abuse and mental abuse.
Which is difficult to get over as well. Mufana, we were talking in the previous hour. Now, Martin gave us an example of a case of a young 16-year-old boy who was gang raped, went into a police station to report it, and the police told him to, what are the line you use?
Go home, sissy.
Yeah, go home, sissy. You know, something like that is devastating to hear. Is there enough training? I mean, we're always focusing in on police getting enough training for how to deal with women abuse, but what about for men abuse? And you yourself mentioning this patriarchal society we live in.
We must agree, Leanne, that we don't have enough training throughout the country on issues that relates to men and boys, and I think we need to up our game there. That also including LGBTI communities as well, and that's why maybe in our advocacy we have actually encouraged the department, the Safety and Security Department, to focus more on training police officers around sexual abuse, not only for men and boys, and also for women and girls. That is very, very important because we need more on that, and also the nuances on how to actually deal with that. And I think the police stations as well, leaders, they need to be trained on these particular matters. And the other one, which is also very, very critical, and I think the training should also, we have mentioned the issues of emotional abuse, economic abuse and physical abuse for men, and they need to be trained as well on how to investigate the issues that relate to economic and emotional and psychological abuse, so that they are able to actually, because all these are found in our Domestic Violence Act, in our Sexual Offences Act and so on. So it's important for them to be able to deal with these particular issues. The other very critical issues is around the issue of human trafficking for boys as well, and not for sexual abuses as well, and also for body parts. So those are some of the things that we still need to actually train not only our police officers but even our immigration officers to be able to detect these particular issues. Remember that our president last year signed the law that actually tried to actually combat the issues of human trafficking. So those are some of the issues, and I think training is not enough. And I think even how the training has been geared, universities as well need to actually up their games to include this thing, to be able to, in our trainings for sexual work as well, they must be able to deal with issues of sexual abuse and so on. So our training needs to be actually changed, to be transformed, to include all this, so that people we are going to be able to deal with these particular issues and bring in experts who can actually assist. And we must actually thank organizations like Matrix Men and other men's organizations who are trying to actually bring this to the fore, including the Commission for Gender Equality, because these are very, very important issues, and we don't want to speak about them.
I'm glad you're vocalizing it, and I do hope that you will go forward on it and just try and push this training and make it happen, because it's unfair. You speak about universities. I want to speak about schools, because if this starts at such a young age, I mean, I think university's too late, because do you find that there's obviously abuse happens at all times in a man's life, or whatever age it may be, but as a child obviously you're more vulnerable, surely?
Absolutely. I think the biggest problem, Leanne, is that parents don't talk to their children. They don't talk to their children about sexual matters. And at the age of 4 or 3, where you should start talking to children and empowering them and saying, these are your private bits. You know, so we have the bikini or the costume theory. So whatever your costume covers, those are your private parts, and nobody touches those.
Yeah.
And then to extrapolate from that, don't say, well, no stranger, no doctor, no pastor, no teacher,
Nobody.
no uncle, no brother, because it's a huge thing that's overlooked. I mean,
Yeah.
we have young men that have been raped by their sisters. You know, so there is such a broad spectrum that people do not talk about it. And I think it was Desmond Tutu who said, if we cannot talk about this over the dinner table, we will never get it fixed.
Yeah.
And that's one of the major reasons why we started, is to put a face to survivors. You know, people can look at me and they can see I'm a survivor. And the most important news that I can pass on to people is that when you come out and start talking about it, healing is possible.
When did you start talking about it?
I started talking about it about 4 years ago when I started.
Only 4 years ago. And this
Yes,
happened to you when you were 5?
When I was 5 up to 19. I mean, I completely suppressed the memories. So you can imagine, and people don't believe that, but you do. You absolutely suppress those memories. And then all of a sudden, I think you hit your midlife crisis, and boom, this whole bee's nest just erupts, or hornet's nest just erupts out of your mind.
And it can ruin your life. I mean, we heard you in the insert, and for viewers that missed the insert, I mean, your marriage, your children, everything took a hammering because of it. Yeah. Martin, thank you for talking. I want to keep you both here for the whole morning, but I'm not allowed to. But I just hope that the viewer at home has given that courage now just to talk about it and do something about it, and especially when it comes to the education of your children. I mean, I can't emphasize enough, you know, to my child, don't let anybody, it doesn't matter who they are, touch you or hurt you in any possible way. I mean, you know, your children are so vulnerable and you've got to protect them. Thank you, Martin. Thank you for being with us. Let me give you Martin's website address again. I know there's a telephone number, but there's the matrixmen.org. I'm on the website right now. Visit it. It's very informative, and it's a portal for you to go to just help, get some help, and also speak to other victims and sexual abuse survivors. And also joining us in our Durban studios, thank you so much, Mfanozelwe Shozi, who is the chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality. Thank you. Okay, the time, 25 minutes past 7. Let's get you some sports news.